Hello, welcome to Hidden Gems. My name is Arden Thomas. I'm the CENTCOM Small Talk Product Manager. Hidden Gems is where we show you capabilities of the product that you may not be aware of, but we think you should, and we want to tell you about it. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please send them to myself, Arden Thomas, at athomas@centcom.com. So today's screencast is about Pragmas and productivity, and hopefully a practical use. So I've long thought about doing a screencast on Pragmas, but I really wanted something valuable to show with it, to demonstrate. Why? Because, well, Pragmas are somewhat esoteric, so unless you have something tangible as an example, it's probably quickly forgotten. Pragmas are used in the system, for example, you'll see with menus in some places. But let's talk about what Pragmas are. So what are Pragmas? Well, a Pragma allows you to annotate a method with some information, some metadata, a declaration of some metadata. It has no effect on the execution of that method, code that's beneath it, and it uses a special syntax with the angle brackets. What we're going to show you today is a productivity example for some frequently used things that I think have some unnecessary steps. So let's talk about an example. Let's open up a browser. And one of the things I'll often do is open up a browser and then come here, package, spawn. I want to see things that I need to publish, unpublished packages. And I'll get a list of just the packages that have changes that need to be published to my store. What I'd like to do is, instead of opening this browser, opening this browser with the unpublished packages, and then come back and closing this, is make that essentially a one-click operation. That would be a benefit. So let's talk about how we can do that. I'd like to add another icon right up by this one. Notice my hover help, open a system browser. So this is defined and described in Visual Launcher. If we go to Visual Launcher to the toolbar protocol, toolbar item browse system, let's look at the source. Here we have a Pragma. I have a VW privilege Pragma, and this Pragma, which defines what we see here. It has the icon, which is the browse system icon. It has the help text when I hover over it, open a system browser that we just saw, some relative position information, and then finally this is the code that gets executed when you do that. I could do it right here, and nope, that doesn't work from there, but works from right here. Why? Because we're on the instance side. So, what if I want to say I want to create something that will just show me unpublished? So let's create that. Now I'm going to accept this, Control S, and notice immediately when I did that, I got another icon in my toolbar, because this Pragma is being basically processed immediately when I change this. So let's do something. Let's change the hover text to browse unpublished and save that. Now I have a problem here. Both these icons look the same, and I can only tell the difference right now if I hover over them. So this is the browse unpublished, but it still does the same thing. So let's look at how do we change this icon to something different looking, and how do we make it work differently. So first we can find the icon that's used. Let's look for it. Let's browse implementers of browse system. Okay. And I can find it right here. So let's spawn this a moment. And what I've also done, I created a browse system unpublished, and all I did was change the red shift and blue shift to create something different. So let's try using this icon. Let me close that down. And as soon as I save this, look what happens. I now get an icon that I can distinguish, but it still does the same thing, so let's work on that. What I did was I went through the code that happens when I click right here. Now the API for the browser it's not trivial, so it takes a little bit to walk through. But when I walk through, I essentially found information to create this. So this is Browse Unpublished, what I created as an extension. I put it in this package. I create a browser. I find the packages that are dirty, create a label. This essentially lets me open that new browser, open editor, and then I close that original. So that's Browse Unpublished. Let's come back to here and say Browse Unpublished. Let's come here and I have Browse Unpublished, and I can see it's different. The icon looks different. And when I click it, I get exactly what I wanted, just the unpublished packages. So now I've made instead of opening a window, launching another window, going back and closing that window, I now have a one-click operation to get right to here and then publish my work. So that's tool one. Let's do another. Let's say, well, first let me show you what I usually do. I'll usually come, open a browser, say package, spawn, and I want to see a subset. I just want to see the packages that are from my repository. So here they are. And often, instead of working with the browser with everything, you just want to see your stuff. Why? Because it's small, or smaller at least. It's in one place. It's easy to find and work with, and it's always very easy to launch a browser with everything or spawn things as you need them. But I find this really useful, and I usually work, when I'm working with my code, I usually work in this context. So what I'd really like, instead of that, again, that multi-step process, I'd like to have something where I could just come through and say, instead of browse the whole system, I just want to browse my system. And what I did similarly, I created an icon, and so I said, okay, the icon, and notice what happened here already, and let's change this to, let's change our hover help to browse my system. Now I can again see, okay, this is the new icon, but I want to make that icon look different. So since I'm browsing a subset, I thought the simplest thing would be make this icon a little smaller. So I did that. I basically created another icon called Browse My System, where I took that icon and used the system tools to shrink it. Let me save this, and that's what we have. So now I have three distinct icons that show three different tools. Well, we need to do this also. So let me browse my system and show you what that does. And it does just as I expect. In one click, opens up all the packages just from my repository, which I often are the core with what I want to work with, or at least be able to focus on. Another thing you could possibly do, if I wanted this to be, say, to the right, I could try moving it 20.11, and we've moved it to the right because I've changed the relative position, and this is something you can play with. So I've done that. If you want to see the code for Browse My System, let's take a look at that. Here's the code. Again, I've walked through. I open up an RB. I say I want to find things from my store. You could create several and have different repositories and create icons for each of them if you had them. I go through all the bundles and packages, find things just for my repository, add them to my stuff, create a label, open up a new RB with just my stuff, and close the original one that I opened up. So that's it, and what I have is, again, just what I want. One more tip. There's a package called GH Pragma Sender. Say I want to see everywhere that uses this particular Pragma here, because I want to look at other examples of how to use it. I can right-click up here with this package loaded and say, show me uses of this. And I can see all the uses in the system. You can see where it's defined. So this is a nice helper tool if you're working with Pragmas, and I'd recommend checking that out if you're looking for an easy, quick way to find things that you want Pragma related. So let's recap. What did we do? Well, we told you what Pragmas are. They let you annotate a method with declarative metadata. We showed you how that's used. It has no effect on method execution, but it does have effect for these other things that are defined by that Pragma. And we showed you a productivity examples, how to take two multi-step processes and make them essentially one-click, fast and easy, that I'm hoping that you can use directly, or this inspires you to find a one-click way of doing something that you do frequently. And finally, we showed you a tool that lets you find information of, for example, where Pragma is used, to find more examples of it. Again, my name is Arden Thomas. I'm the product manager, and if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, you want this code, please send me an email at athomas@syncom.com. I hope you've enjoyed this. Until next time, have a great time with Syncom Small Talk.